Hello puzzlers, seems a long time since I reviewed an online game you can play, and I thought I'd do this one because this is something I have been playing on my phone for quite a while, which is why we've got this vertical perspective. So everyone's ever probably played Wordle and lots of derivatives of Wordle, and I guess in a way this is a derivative of Wordle. It's called Mazele. There's no numbers or letters involved. What you've got to do is you've got to create a path from the left hand side all the way across to the right hand side. And there are some rules. So if I was creating a path, I couldn't double back on myself and have like a square. There would have to be a gap with the kink. I could get to the end, go along the edge, up and down. But I've definitely only got one start point at the beginning and one at the end. There's no kind of dual paths like this. And you don't have any dead ends either. So that is kind of how, or what we've got to do. Now you'll notice as I was putting in the maze, we have these numbers popping up in the corners, and that's just telling you how many of the squares you've highlighted in the 6x6 grid on the vertical and the horizontal. So for example, here we can see on the first column I've highlighted 2 and then 1 and 1 for the second and third columns, and the same for the rows going down 1 and 3. And let's start with a really basic one. You've got 6 guesses like Wordle to try and find the correct maze. And typically I would start with something quite basic like this, which goes all the way down and utilizes mostly 2s. Press submit, and we can see we've got lots of nice information from this. The green 2 in the first column tells me that those 2 squares are correct, in the correct position and everything. So on our next go, we know that this and this is correct. The 2 on the fourth column, this column here, we are told here that we do have 2 in that column, but they're not 2 in that position. So for the second and the fourth rows, we have 2 highlighted squares, but it's not those 2 squares that I've currently got highlighted in my first guess. Where it's black, that's telling us actually we don't have 1. We've got more than 1 guess taking place. So using this information from our first one, well, I know that this is not correct because there's going to be a second square highlighted, but it's not this one, which means I could have started down here, I could have carried on from down here. So it could be something that goes along like this, or it could be starting in that top corner and going along like that. So I've got to probably have a few guesses to try and work out what the correct strategy is on this one. So let's imagine it does start in that top. In fact, we know it must start on this one I've got flashing here, because we can't have 1 below, because that would put a 3 in our first column, and we know that is a 2 in that column. And we know we can't move to the right because we've been told that that would be incorrect. So actually we've got these first 3 squares filled in. Now we can't double back on ourselves anyway, so we're definitely moving along to at least this point here. Now because we're going to that point, I'm going to then go down. I've got 2 now in that second row, and I'm going to do a bit of a kind of a kink to get 2 in this next line. I'm going to go along, so I've got 3. Now I've got a bit of a problem here in I didn't really want 2 in this row. So trying to avoid 2 in that row means we can't be going down like that. So I don't think that kink is probably correct. Let's go along and see if we can find another place to kind of put that kink. I think I can put it in here. With my screen recorder. So this seems to satisfy like all of the clues we were given. We have a 2 in this 4th row, we have a 2 in the 2nd row, and they're in different positions than we had them originally. We've got 2 in this 4th column, and that's in a different position. All our black numbers have changed, so we can see they've all changed, and we submit that. And there we go, we've managed to guess that in 2, which is really fantastic. Now, I don't often get them in 2, and that's only my 3rd time I've ever done that. We can see I've got a win percentage of 98. I've actually failed on one of these once. But I've played 55 times now, so I've been playing this for a good few weeks. Really enjoy it and definitely think you should give it a go. Sorry it took me a little bit of time to explain that, but hopefully once you've played through it a couple of times, you'll start to get these too. Hello and welcome back to another Mazele. The reason I've chosen to do a second one is because I felt like yesterday's was quite lucky. I got there in 2, and usually it does take a little bit longer than that. So I wanted to hopefully get a bit of a harder one to work out and see how we get on. So you know the rules by now. This is a typical start, and we can definitely fill in a couple of these. We're not ending with a 1. So let's imagine that we move up like this. So we need to cross over this line at some point. We know that's a 1 along the top, so it definitely comes down here. So let's actually put in what we can definitely know. It's not going to be a 2 going down, so let's imagine it's at least a 3. We can cross over here, and if I keep going, this is a nice kind of pattern where I've got my 2s, my 1 green, my 2 green is correct, and I feel like I'll definitely get a little bit more information from this. Okay, so I've worked out that ending and that start. I know it definitely comes down here at least. We only have 1 that crosses over, but maybe it crosses over at a lower point. We have at least a 3 on that bottom one. So this could work. Let's have a look at this one. And there we go. So we've got our Mazele in 3 this time, which again is quite good. Neither of those two are too overcomplicated. We can really get some very difficult ones that do kind of, double back on each other and, and have some really strange patterns. But there we go. I hope you check this out. It's a fantastic app and it's really good fun to kind of get the brain warmed up in the morning.